Good morning, everyone. My name is I'm from Poland, and I will ask some questions to you because I like to know who I'm talking to. How many of you are some kind of testers? Everyone. How many of you are some kind of quality assurance engineers? Really? I don't get it. There is no difference between the testing and quality assurance? There is. So, who you are? Both. But you said that there is a difference between the quality assurance and testing. There is no. Okay. Okay, I get it. Yeah, I've seen a lot of job proposition where there is written in the title that they are looking for a quality assurance engineer or quality assurance specialist, whatever, and the description is quite about the testing role. And there is a huge difference between the quality assurance and between the testing role, because I like to say that when testing starts, the quality ends. This is the point where we only can validate the quality, we only can control the quality, but it's too late to assure this quality. So that's what I'm doing in the last few years, is trying to convince others that quality assurance is more important than testing itself, but this doesn't mean that testing is not important. Okay, how many of you are working in some kind of agile environment, agile organization, agile-ish organization, you know, someone call it as agile, Scrum, whatever. So, oh, something break. Okay. It should work now. Hey, there is few of you who are working in agile environment. Okay, do you know something about this agile Scrum? Everybody else, have you ever heard about the agile before? Okay, so what is agile? Methodology. Not exactly methodology.
This is the way.
Ideology. Yeah, it's more ideology. It's more philosophy. It's somebody called it the philosophy. Okay, I used to work as a tester some time ago, and most of my time in my career, I used to work in the agile organization, or wannabe agile organization. And I very often heard the question, what are you doing at the beginning of the iteration? You're planning? Reading. Okay. Don't you think that this is a little bit waste of time? You know, like planning, reading. I discovered that there are more important things that writing documentation, planning, detailed planning, and reading documentation, etc. There is time. We should do this before the iteration. We should plan it. We should read the documentation, maybe not the right documentation, or just get some and talk with the customers and get some requirements from them. So my answer for this question is I start testing, even if there is no any functionality implemented yet. How to do this? This presentation will be mostly about it. And few words about me. I said my name is and the most important part in this picture is the passion which I have for everything what I'm doing, and also for testing. And this passion will lead me to the role which I have right now, which is agile coach, and I'm helping others understand what the agile is about. Okay. The topic of this presentation is how to create automated tests when functionality hasn't been implemented yet. Do you think is it possible at all?
It's possible.
How many of you are automating tests? What are you using to automate your tests?
Our teacher.
Okay, someone said WebDriver, good. I like open source solutions and open source tools, so I'm using WebDriver too in any technology which I'm using, which is .NET or Java, Ruby, and PHP last time, soft programming. Did you see this shortcuts, this names before?
Yes.
Yeah, especially test-driven development. Okay. We also have a training component in Poland. I have a lot of questions from the people who are looking for trainings, and they are asking for training about test-driven development for testers. And I'm saying it's the wrong way. Test-driven development is not for testers. Of course, you know it. Yes. It's test-driven development is method for programmers, for developers, to develop software in the very non-incremental test-first way. What does it mean? It doesn't matter for this presentation because I would like to focus more on the acceptance test-driven development. There is some role for testers. How many of you are familiar with acceptance test-driven development? A few of you. Good. What is acceptance test development? Acceptance test-driven development. It's some kind of outside-in development. Have you ever heard before about the outside-in development or inside-out development? This term is used mostly when people are talking about the test-driven development, but acceptance test-driven development is a specific example of outside-in development. I will say more about it later, so don't worry. You will get it probably. Okay, everything starts from the requirements. You said that you are reading documentation or writing documentation at the beginning of the iteration. Scenarios, user stories, use cases. These are terms from the Agile world. How many of you are using some of this? Okay. What about the others? Okay. I know that there is a lot of different kinds of documentation. There is no documentation at all. Yes, it's a common problem. People start to talk about the scenarios or user stories as a documentation. I don't like to call user stories, for example, or use cases a documentation. For me, it's not a documentation. It's some tool, some kind of tool to start conversation with the customers. And it's more important than just documentation. So, software is an investment. I think that everyone would agree with that we are investing money in software, and we want to get some return on investment. Yes, we want to earn some money when we are creating software. So requirements are also investment, and there is some rules about the requirements. First of all, they need to be independent. So if you are talking about the user stories or scenarios or use cases, they have to be independent from each other. So we can implement one of them and don't care about the others. That way we can develop our software in the incremental way. I hope you understand what does mean incremental. There is iterative development and incremental development. For example, Scrum is some kind of incremental and iterative development. We are doing short iteration, I don't know, 2 weeks, for example, and at the end of every iteration, we create increment of our work. So it means that we create some kind of the potentially shippable product. This is possible only if our requirements, our user stories, our use cases are independent from each other. And maybe you should stop starting, start finishing. It's exactly about it. Stop starting every user stories and stop doing things like, okay, we start 5 user stories at the beginning of the iteration, and at the end of the iteration we will do crunch, we will spend over an hour to just finish it, but you know, the quality will be very, very low. But your idea is to start only one user story, finish it to the end with the definition of done, with high quality or quality which is our target, and then start another and another and another. That way, at the end of the iteration, maybe we'll have one user story or one functionality which is started but not finished, but it's just one. In the first scenario, we have 5 or 6 started but not finished, so nothing was done. In this case, we could have at least 3 or 4 done. Requirements should be negotiable. What does it mean? It means that this is why I'm saying that user stories are not a documentation, because documentation in most cases are not negotiable. You know, there is some contract, documentation about the software, about the requirements, and about the functionality, and we as testers or we as programmers or developers cannot negotiate it with customer. It's signed, it's end. We need to implement, even if it doesn't make sense. How many of you are working on the software which doesn't make sense? It's few of you. This is true. That here is only few of you. When I asked this question on some conferences, that there was at least half of the room who said, "No, it doesn't make sense. We know it, but we cannot do anything with it. Deal with it." Yeah, it's mostly because of the documentation, the contracts. Which we have. Because of the negotiation on the requirements, we as a very smart people, because we are very smart people, yes, I hope you are. I think that everyone who works in IT is very smart, because not everyone can work in IT. And we are very smart people, so this is our role to help the customers or help the users of our application to find the best solution for their problems, because programming or software development is nothing else but solving the problems. Every requirement which we have need to have value. It's also about the making sense. If the requirement don't add any value, we are doing something which doesn't make sense. So this is the problem sometimes. The value is another topic for another presentation. Estimated. We need to know how difficult it is to implement the software, so we give this information to the customer, and based on this information, the customer or the product owner or our manager could decide is it worth to implement or not. Because remember, this is investment. So we need to know if it's worth to do or not. And requirements should be small. Why? Because we need to fit it into iteration. Iteration should be short. Because of the feedback loop which we have. We need to show this implemented requirement to the customer or to the users and learn if they like it or not. And at the end, of course, it needs to be testable. So it should be possible to test it separated from each other or test it together, but we need to know how to test it up front before we start implementation. Okay. Acceptance test-driven development is sometimes connected with behavior-driven development. How many of you heard about the behavior-driven development? How many of you are using behavior-driven development? Okay. So what is the behavior-driven development? You're using it. At least few of you. It's something more than acceptance test-driven development. If we are talking about the acceptance test-driven development, we are trying to create tests which based on the requirements which I mentioned, which fit to this definition invest. We created automated tests up front. We start from this testing, and then we try to implement everything. And all of it happen on the level of the development team. Sometimes they are talking with the customer and negotiating the requirements. Behavior-driven development is something more. It's I would say even methodology, which is focused on the whole organization, not only the development team. So I will tell you more about it later. User stories. Could you give me an example of user story? Some kind of example of user story.
As user, I want to log in on the first page. I don't know, something like that.
It's not a user story.
User story is quite informal
Yeah. Could you give me an example?
and too long to describe.
There is
There are short.
yeah, there are short. There is some format of user story, and this format is as in some kind of stakeholder. It's very important. Stakeholder. It cannot be, I don't know, system or program or application. It's not a stakeholder. There need to be a person who is a stakeholder. What does it mean, stakeholder? Because at least in Polish there is this great word interesariusz for that. There is a person who has some business in our software. So it could be I don't know, your customer, your user, and it could be also, I don't know, someone of you. It could be a guy from another team who wants something from you to what would you need to do to help him at work, or I don't know, to help him solve his problem or other problems. So, what?
It can even be a competitor.
Yeah, of course, it can even be a competitor. Because we also need to observe the market and react on the changes from environment. So, first part is the stakeholder, we define the role. Second part is I want something. So, stakeholder wants something. And it will be some action, and it's good if it's only one action, so they can achieve goal. And most of the user stories ends right here, ends on as a stakeholder I want something, and there is no goal for doing something, and the software stops make sense for others, and people are doing things which they know that doesn't make sense. Even they don't know, but they never think about it if that what they are doing makes sense or not. So I like to use another format of the user stories. It's proposed by Dan Nord. I don't know how many of you heard about Dan Nord. Especially people who said that they're using BDD should know about him, because he invented BDD with others. So here's the format of in order to, and the first place we stand our goal. We decide why we want to do something. What is the reason? What is the business reason? This is the value which I mentioned before. This is the value which we have. And second, we define who is the owner of this goal. And at the end, we use the action. For example, we can say we have a requirement that we need to implement some payment method for post service. You know, we are sending, for example, mails, not emails, mails, and we need to pay for that. We can do it on the many level, many other many different way to pay for some kind of service. So if we start from the goal, which is I want to pay for the service as a user of the service, I want, what can I do to pay for the service? How can I pay for and whatever?
Using
Credit card, cash. Yeah, we can even use bitcoins or whatever. If we start defining our user stories in that way, there will be many options about how to achieve our goal. If we create, I don't know, 3 or 5 different options for the same goal, we can choose the best one or the cheapest one and implement it first. It's very important to focus on the goal, and the way how we want to achieve this goal, it's just a side effect of this thinking process. Okay, we also have scenarios. Every user stories we could split on some kind of scenarios or use cases. And in behavior-driven development, there is some format of these scenarios, it's split on the three parts. First one is given. We are giving context of the action. I don't know, it could be as an logged in user, so as an authenticated user, when I click in the button, then some pop-up shows up. It's not quite good. Why do you think it's not good? This example, which said, as an authenticated user, when I click in a button, I should see some kind of pop-up.
Too low level.
What?
It's too low level.
Yes, exactly. It's too low level. When we are defining the scenarios, we should talk. We should speak in the business language. We should use business terms. So, okay, we could say that as an authenticated user, it's great. When I don't know, when I'm trying to do some prohibited action, I should see warning. It doesn't matter if it will be pop-up or something else, it's just the implementation which will be somewhere in the lower level. I will show you some kind of code later. Okay, I've tried to describe you how what is the test-driven development, acceptance-driven development, behavior-driven development, but the question is how to do this. This one who are doing it right now probably know, but about the others. How many of you heard about the page object patterns? Especially the one who automate tests. Only a few of you said it. This is the pattern, programming pattern, or design pattern, which help to design our test cases, our test scenarios, so it will be easy to maintain later. We have two, I don't know how to say it. We have two layers, two separated areas. One of them is pages, and like every application, for example, here we have some kind of application, it doesn't look great, but it's some kind of the login page. Every application, almost every application, has some kind of login page, yes? How many of you don't have any login page in your application? Login screen don't have to be login page, okay? Two of you, great. Most of the application has some kind of authentication. And there is some kind of main page. In this case, this is backlog page because it's a tool for organizing Scrum projects or Scrum work. And in object-oriented programming, every page, every screen which you have, we could represent in a class. So this is a Java class for login page, which extends some kind of abstract page class. So every page is an object. How many of you are familiar with object-oriented programming? Most of you, great. So in this class, in this object, login page have some functions, have some functionality, some action which we could do on this page. Yes. So in this example, there is a correct login. So we could use our login page class with method correct login to log into the application, to authenticate in the application. As you can see, there is it's probably WebDriver or we cannot obscured somehow. We can use normal programming language here using WebDriver to program this action. And we also have some main page, so there is only one function which verify if the page is visible or some part of this page is less visible. And of course there is some abstract class at the top, doesn't matter. And we have another layer which is test. It's separated from the pages. We're representing our page, our application in the pages class, pages structure. And we have our tests which are separated from this pages structure. So we can start with writing our user stories that way and writing our scenario. And then we can implement it in the way which I said before. We are using our login page class, we open this page. As you can see, there is another function for open this page. We can log into the page, and then we can verify if it's visible. And there is some class which, so I don't know, if you are not familiar with JBehave, here in this annotation we are using the text from here. So given open demo bananas.com, when the login with current credential, then backlog should be visible. So this is our test, and here is the implementation with this annotation. It's looking for JBehave looking for this text in the text file of our scenario. It's pretty funny to do. I don't know if we have time for that. Maybe in some break I could show you some examples with code. We could code together or do something, I don't know, with coffee later. Okay, I said before that it's based on the outside-in development. So we start from writing the documentation. We start with writing our user story and the scenarios which we have, and then we implement this scenario here. We can even, using JBehave, we can even write this text and run the build in Eclipse, for example, and this one will be, this one will be auto-generated without the this method inside, but we can type it very fast and then use the magic shortcut in our keyboard, which is Ctrl+1. You know this shortcut? It's autocomplete. If we, or just autofix or something. So if we just write this down, it will be marked red because it's not implemented yet, and then we type Ctrl+1 and auto-generate this class, and then auto-generate this method, and just fulfill the method, the class, and everything works. As I said, I can show you it during the break. Okay, and yeah, as I said, we auto-generate this method, then fulfill this method, and this method also, and we have working tests. And we can do this even before we have this one, this functionality implemented, because we don't care about it, because we can at least get to the point where there will be empty function correct login without this part. But we can add it later. We have written tests which we can run. It will fail, but we can do this. And just after we have implemented functionality, or in parallel when we will be implementing these web pages, we can implement or just add this part to our pages class. So, as I said, these classes represent the structure of our application, the pages of our application, or views in our application. Okay, this is how. But another question which people often ask me is what to test. Shouldn't we test everything? In this example which I show was the scenario for login, for authenticating to the application. How many of you think that testing such a thing makes sense? Testing authentication makes sense? Really? In the UI way, using Selenium WebDriver? I think it's a waste of time, because probably authentication to our application will never change. If we implement it once, it will never change. It doesn't mean that we don't have to have tests, but it means that we don't have to run this test all the time. That's what we want to achieve in our testing environment. We don't want to do some kind of over-engineering. We just want to test things which is changing very often. It's connecting. How many of you have seen it before? It's called connecting. It's some kind of model of solving problems. We could split all problems on the 4 or 5 categories, which is simple, complicated, complex, and chaotic. And there is disorder somewhere between them. And very, very short description. Simple project, simple problem is something which we have some cause and some effect, and relation between them is visible. Complicated is there is some cause, there is some effect, but the relation there is for sure some kind of relation, but it's not visible for us, or it's not so easy to see it. And complex is something where there is some cause and some effect, but when we do something, we probably cannot revert it, or the effect and cause is connected both ways. For example, the clock is complicated. You know, you can put your clock split your clock into some parts and then connect them each other, and it will be probably works. And for example, complex is a frog. If you split frog in the parts and connect each other, it will probably die. So this is a good example of the difference between complex and complicated. And chaotic, there is no cause and effect relationship, so we don't care about it. We need to send some manager there to do what needs to be done. So we could split our requirements on the 5 categories. One of them is things which are very simple, like authentication. Everyone knows how to do this. Everyone knows how to work, how it should work. Everyone in our organization knows how it should work. And we did it once and probably never did it again. There is second category, things which are a little bit complicated, and these things most of the people in our organization know how to do, or many of the people in our organization know how to do this, how it should work, but not everyone. It's a little bit tricky. And there is third class of the problems which we are trying to solve by developing software, and we could say that there is one person or two people in our organization who know how to do this, or who know how it should work and done it before, had some experience with it, and this is very complicated for others. And fourth category is there is someone in the world who knows how to do this. Somebody done this before, but nobody in our organization. We don't know how to do this, but it is possible to do. And the fifth category is nobody ever done this before. How many of you are working in the fifth category? Okay, one. You said that you don't have authentication in your application before. It's because you are working here. Yes. Okay. So one moment. If we are talking about these categories, things which are things which are here. So everyone knows how to do this, and most of us know how to do this. These are pretty simple things. They will probably not change very often. We should put them in some libraries. We should separate it from our code, from our domain, business domain of our code, of our application, and then we should just forget about them or monitor them. But things which are interesting is things which we should automate. It's third and fourth category. So things which somebody in our organization know how to do this, but there is not a lot of people who know, and somebody in the world know how to do this, and it's possible to do. This is a place for automation, especially here. I think that every one of you can imagine what the functionality in your application is in this area. So you could put something there. What is very important? Probably these things will change very often. So this is why we need to implement our test automation very well in this area. And probably this is our business domain. So this is the place which makes money for our organization or for our customer. So it's also very important to define high quality and to assure this high quality in this area. Okay, and the fifth category is for the experiments. Nobody ever done this before. We don't even know if it's possible to do this. So this is a typical R&D, research and development department in our organization. We don't have to write automated tests there. We want to check if it's possible to do this. If we check it, it automated goes to this area. If we define that, okay, it's possible, So we already done this before, so we are in the fourth category. Somebody in the world did it before. It wasn't good, there wasn't any automated test, the quality was pretty low, but it is possible to do it. And yes, this is the experiment and the monitoring for the rest, so for this first area. Okay, do you have any question, especially about this part?
Yeah. What to use to monitoring this functionality is that it's very simple.
Automated tests. No, I would say that there's a different. What it could be? It could be, I don't know. We could check if our login page is displayed. We could check if it's possible to log into the application. It could be writing automated test, but very important is that I'm not running this test in commit build. In every commit, after every commit to repository, I don't run this test. I just run this one. This is very important. This domain test. Why? Because test takes a lot of time, and what I want to achieve is very fast feedback loop. I don't want to the situation where I run the test and I need to wait half an hour, 1 hour, or 5 hours to see the results. I want to have it almost instantly.
Thanks. One more question.
Could you please provide us some examples how to use this splitting? Let's take some simple user story, for example, and discuss how should we split the requirements.
User stories split into
User story as the initial requirement.
Writing user stories for login is not a good idea, but
Maybe not user story, some other.
okay. I would say that your question is, I don't know if I understand it well, how to split user stories into scenarios, yes? Or
Not user stories. We're talking about requirements.
yes.
And we're talking about splitting requirements for these four parts.
Okay.
And let's take some
Okay.
requirements.
You want some example of the complicated or complex requirement? It could be, I don't know, if we are, it will be context dependent. It will depend from the context which your application is working for. For example, if we are working for, okay, we are selling domains, web domains, or web servers, etc. So our business domain and most complicated part, which will be our mechanism of registering domain in the some domain provider. It is our business domain. It's very important for it to work. So we need to test it. Shop in our application also will be very important. It will be something happened bad. It will be somewhere in the area of somewhere. It will be somewhere here. Yes, and so these are very important things. But for example, if we want to be I don't know, new domain provider, and probably it will be somewhere here. So we need to do some kind of research and development for this. And of course, in every application like this, there will be some kind of authentication, some kind of users management, etc. I don't know if it's answering your question. Fine. Okay, we could chat about it later. Okay, my name is Wiktor Żuławski, I'm from Sprinters. If you have any question, I think we are run out of time. So if you have any question, just catch me somewhere. I will be there whole day. And thank you.